I used to be curator at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, which has a huge collection of material relating to the Herschel family. And so I got interested in looking at all the different generations of the Herschel family, but Caroline kind of stands out. She discovers a comet. So in terms of the actual discovery, there were other people discovering comets. There were a few hundred comets known at that time, but she's the first woman to have her name attached to the discovery. William Herschel is kind of the figurehead of this family business that makes telescopes and surveys the sky for nebulae and star clusters. So his work is kind of the broad, overarching, this is how it all comes together. But it wouldn't have happened without her contribution to that work. The stuff that she gets separate recognition for is very specifically the thing that is entirely hers. So while he'll get credit for a project to which she contributed, she will only get credit for the specific things that she has done all on her own, so the comets that she's discovered while he's been away.
Can you tell us a bit about your background and why it is that you became interested in researching this area specifically?
I started off thinking I wanted to be a scientist, and I did a degree in physics. And there weren't many girls doing physics, and I think I'm interested in why that's the case, I guess, and that's sort of why I may be interested in Caroline Herschel more than her brother.
And was she quite unusual at the time as a woman working somewhat in science?
Recent research suggests probably not that unusual in terms of there were more women working in science than we thought at that time. But she's unusual in getting recognition in her own time and being remembered by historians.
And why is it, do you think, that she managed to get credit when all of these other women that were working in science couldn't?
She comes from a background of music, so she's part of her training in music is to learn how to present herself in a way that's womanly but also quite public. So this article really shows it. It really shows the language that she uses. She's deliberately, or almost exaggeratedly modest. She's sort of polite. She sort of justifies her announcement in terms of family commitments and in terms of, not that she wants personally to be famous, but that she wants the world to benefit from her work, or this work that just happens to have been done by her.
What effect do you think this has had, both for kind of the field of astronomy, but also for women in science?
In terms of the field of astronomy, I think it's one more comet that's added to the sort of general accumulation of data. In terms of women in astronomy, though, I think it does make a big impact. It shows that it's possible to get your work out there, and it shows a kind of way of doing that as well. You do get women later than her who will reference her as being the reason why they got into astronomy.
What obstacles do you think would have faced Caroline?
It's hard to know because there's not really a career structure as such at that time for astronomers. Her brother doesn't follow any particular sort of normal path either. I think in terms of obstacles generally, I guess there's the amount of domestic work she's expected to also fit into her day as well as all her science. There's her limited education that she was, when they were growing up, the boys would be expected to learn professions, but the girls were expected to learn how to look after the family. And so she's already kind of at a disadvantage there. There are certain institutions that she can't get access to, but at the same time they get a lot of visitors to the house, so in a way the institutions sort of come to them.
How do you think attitudes have changed since Caroline's time?
I think they haven't changed as much as we'd like to think they have. Men and women are expected to present themselves in different ways, not necessarily in science, but in life generally, and that carries through into science. And so women are less likely to kind of shout about what they've done.
Was Caroline the first woman to be published in Philosophical Transactions?
I'm almost completely sure that she was, and I did go back and try and triple check that. But what you find is that going back, quite a lot of people who've just put an initial and their name. When you do get to the women, it tends to be Miss so-and-so. And also, the women couldn't go and read their own papers, so they'd had to have somebody read it on their behalf. So I guess that would have kind of drawn attention as well. So pretty sure.